We live in this constant state of insecurity that tomorrow I'll be irrelevant. I underestimated growing from 1 to 2 and 2 to 3 is going to take so much. Firstly, identify your problem. If you start driving down price, is it a price issue? Do you know it's a price issue? Has anyone told you, has any data told you that people are not walking in here because your 14-pound dosa is too expensive?
This week's episode is with Karan Gokani, the founder of Hoppers, London's most iconic Sri Lankan restaurant. In this episode, we go deep into how he keeps his restaurant busy, relevant, packed, and people talking about it for 10 years. You're going to absolutely love it.
So we opened Hoppers Soho 10 years, this 26 will be the 11th year, but 10 years ago, 2015, October, tiny little site. Never expected it to sort of grow into what it is today. Right? It was very much a restaurant. We were feeding people. We've created something that we missed a lot in the market. We created a restaurant where we wanted to go and eat, and we just want to feed people for the love of feeding people and doing it at a level that, we are very proud of ourselves. And we were our own benchmark. It wasn't, what does the market know about Sri Lankan food? Let's hit that level, and that we're happy with that, which I think a lot of our competitors in the market, big, very famous, very successful competitors do, without naming names. I think you go with what is the benchmark knowledge in the market, the average, because that's what you're catering to, the average. Especially if you're doing volume. If you're doing a 10-seater counter, it's different, because then you're catering to people who fly in and really knowledgeable people. But if you're catering for volume, then, which we were doing out of a 40-seat site as well. On a Saturday, I'd do 400 covers of a 40-seat restaurant. So we were doing volume even in the early days.
Wow.
Right? And if we just went back and said, look, we're catering for volume, and we need to find that base benchmark, and there's no need to innovate above, because innovation takes time, effort, money, and a lot of perseverance. You need to have more skilled chefs. I could have had base skilled chefs. I could have kept it a simpler menu. I could have watered down the curries a little bit more. I could have added butter chicken to the menu. And I know it would sell. So when we kept it there, so it was very much this. But from there, it then moved on to site number 2. We saw a demand. We were hungry. We were growing. We saw site number 2. It was very much, may have been driven by ego at that point as well. It's like, wow, I've made a successful one. Let me get a bigger one. I want to feed more people. Then I kind of came, grew older, had kids, all that kind of stuff. And you sort of see the world changing. You see things happening. 2020 was again a bit of a, okay, we've done 2. Let's do our biggest one so far.
So what was the second site?
Second was Marylebone. So 2015 Soho, 2017 Marylebone. And then 2020, just before COVID, was King's Cross. Our biggest, boldest, most ambitious site.
It's 130 seats, wasn't it? Something like that.
It all depends, man. It's like we've got a bar, we've got another thing, we've got a flexible terrace. But basically, in summer, I counted last time, with every seat full, with all our terraces expanded, we can go up to 190 seats.
Okay, now.
And Soho is like 44 seats, with 2 on that little patio, which we had once in a while, but 40 seats inside.
Sure.
So we've gone sort of, almost 5x. And it was interesting. So we did that. Again, that was very much, okay, we've tested this. We believe that there's a bigger demand. First time we're doing a site this big. I put a big island bar in there because I wanted to also show off that, look, we put equal effort into our drinks and every little step of service and our food. So food, obviously people think, okay, you're putting all your effort into food. But our drinks by then, Martin, who now runs our operations, he was bar manager there. And he is fantastic. Like, he's just such a solid operator. He knows his drinks really well. We really built this team under him. We've got some fantastic young bartenders in. We've got creative people in. We've got our own sort of bar CPU. So we put a lot of effort in. It's not just like stick some mint in, stick some lemon in, put 2 colored liquids in and stir it all up. Which again, a lot of restaurants do. And it's quite easy to get away with because, the focus is on food. You can get away just as long as there's some alcohol in a thing, or there's a good beer, or there's some wine. Whereas our house wine is our own blend. Our house beer is our own beer. We had a point where we had 3 of our own beers. And all our cocktails have a lot of effort and thought gone into everything from naming down to the liquid in the glass to what the glass is. So for me, King's Cross was about showcasing that subliminally. So you have a big bar. Yes, people will want to eat eventually because they're not going to wait for hours, but also captures the audience. King's Cross is not an area like Soho where you can send them to the neighbor for a drink and come back. I want to keep them in here because if they go away, they're not coming back. It becomes this sort of 3-step journey where you come in, you have a drink while you're waiting for a table. You have such a good time and an unexpected time because you came here for food. Like, wow, I really enjoyed this bar and it feels like a different space and vibe. But in the same room, then I'm shifted to a table eat my meal, come back. So it was that. But in this lovely journey, we grew to our biggest site. We had, the design was fantastic, the journey was great, and then obviously COVID hit. But even before COVID, I think the writing was on the wall because I moved members of my team, GM included, from smaller sites to the bigger sites. They were there. I don't think many of them were ready for it.
How? Because
I don't think they'd seen the scale.
Right.
And then even me as, the leader of the group, I was like, I'd underestimated growing from 1 to 2 and 2 to 3 is going to take so much.
What were the biggest misconceptions?
I think my biggest learnings were 1 to 2 that you can copy paste in terms of the back end.
Yeah.
Right. I knew the front end's going to be different. For me, the restaurants are very much a family and each one is a sibling in the family.
Yes. Yeah.
I've got 2 young kids. I've got a younger brother. My wife has 2 brothers. We all know our personalities a little different, but there's a common DNA.
So what's the common DNA that you've got in the backside?
I think it's the culture. It all comes down to culture. It comes down to our values. It comes down to purpose. 5 years ago, it was all subliminal. It was all led by me. I would make a lot of decisions. Today, I'm codifying a lot of it. We sit together as a common team. But I'll come to that in a second. We sit together and we codify a lot of this stuff. We want it there for posterity. Back in the day, I think I was making gut decisions, which today I see as very sort of having identified my purpose a while ago without knowing I had. Again, sort of taking in knowledge from the likes of Danny Meyer and the likes of Simon Sinek and the likes of Rory Sutherland and all these people, listening to lots of podcasts, listening to other hospitality people. And I kind of had found it, but I didn't know I'd found it. And I'd still struggle with certain decisions more than I needed to. But that's because when you say gut and you say instinct, it's actually coming from a place of deep purpose. So this happened sort of, along the way. We had this team, and then the team, COVID was the real sort of death knell. Look, I'm not going to go on. Everyone suffered through COVID, and we can cry all we want. There are so many restaurateurs who go on about it. It was the worst time for us. Dude, I was fortunate enough, lost no one in my family, lost, luckily, no staff members, no team members. We lost a few friends, sadly. Like, this is, by lost, I mean sort of actual death by COVID.
Sorry to hear that.
And, I think people have had it much worse. That physical loss is never going to come back. Business loss, we bounce back in many ways. Today, I was telling someone just yesterday, I went out on a very cold night, we went out to Marylebone and the whole terrace was packed. There were people who were coming in. They're like, can we sit outside? I was like, this would have never happened. So maybe this is COVID's karma. Suddenly you got outdoor dining that is now year-long, which would have never happened a few years ago. Suddenly I'm looking at my covers at King's Cross. It's like my actual restaurant is expanded. Because people are willing to sit out at the peak of Christmas.
Well, adversity is a terrible thing to waste.
No, but I think that mindset shift of sitting outdoors and developing outdoors for all year round is something that we never had. So maybe all those covers we lost, in 5 years' time, we might gain back because of the new additional outdoor seating and people's openness to it. So I guess that's the glass half full. But I think what COVID did was obviously the mindset shift of the team. Of like, I don't want to work long hours. Or maybe just made people question their desire to be in hospitality. And it definitely did that for my King's Cross GM and a bunch of other people who then came back completely haphazard all over the place. And we couldn't afford that at our biggest site, where we couldn't plug those holes, and there were holes everywhere. The culture was destroyed, and it was horrific. And I judge culture by, I don't have an office. My senior team doesn't have an office. They complain about it all the time. Now we might get the space big, but we sit at our restaurants. So whether it's downstairs in Marylebone, which tends to be the sort of, we've got the little semi-private vaults, we tend to do a lot of our work and meetings out of there, or it's being in King's Cross in the bar area at lunchtime, or coming here now every day, because that gives you the best pulse for what's happening. It's not about how they talk to me, that also, but it's about sitting across the room and seeing whether someone's genuinely happy or not, seeing the little body language of the team, seeing how they vibe with each other, and that is a very clear indicator of the culture in a team at a given point of time. And again, today I'm able to identify, have my red flags immediately. Back in the day, it was just, where did I find myself sitting? My days are very haphazard. I plan meetings around lunches and dinners and around my restaurants. But it would be, let's meet in Marylebone today, let's meet in King's Cross today, let's meet at Soho today. And I found that after a little while, I was just avoiding King's Cross, because when I'd go in there, something would suck that sort of energy out of me.
What was the things that were sucking it?
Again, that time I didn't know what it was. It was just a gut feeling and it was instinct. But today when I look at it, there were just people who were there who were not hospitable. Like I'd see people at the bar, at this beautiful bar we created, just make no eye contact with guests. When I'd walk in, and this is not so much, I've always told people, it's like, treat me the worst ever because save your energy for someone else. If you want to move me off a table, give me the worst table in the house.
Yes.
Never feel bad about moving me off a table, feel bad about moving a guest off a table.
Yes.
Because sometimes you have the opposite, oh my God, the restaurateur's here, please, guys, I'm sorry, I won't bother you.
So it makes sense.
When I'd see people sort of not making eye contact with me, I knew that that is the lowest form. Like if they're not doing it with me, they're not doing it with anyone else.
The bit I love from the Jeremy King book, which he detailed, he was on the show, the
Fantastic book,
best book,
Yeah.
and he was having lunch with Ruthie Rogers from the River Cafe.
The eyes.
And
Her
and
granddaughter.
his little granddaughters. And
I love that.
Ruthie goes, the guy who serves the drinks, and Ruthie goes to the granddaughter, what colour?
Yes.
And she goes,
I do that
green.
with my kids.
Yeah, she goes, green. And Jeremy's like, what's that? What do you mean? What's that? And he goes, well, she always has to look someone in the eye.
Yeah.
And know the colour of their eye, and you can the piercing colour of their eye. That is what that hospitality is,
Yeah.
and I think it's a beautiful principle. If let's say we're a bit downstream, right? So things are going wrong with King's Cross. You've got these 3 sites. You've got this amazing brand that is in your gut, and we're going through this process now with the podcast, right? Because when it started, like I just know what I like. Now it's about we're working with this brand strategist at Uncommon.
Are they good?
Bro, like I mean, they're creative. They are basically.
I've struggled so much with these guys.
Oh, mate.
I've worked with, not with them, with different.
Yeah, this guy's
brand.
amazing, and so we're codifying it, and we're codifying our values is one. So it's going to come from my gut into this thing. So as when people come on board, we know what we're doing, but also what to fucking say no to.
That's the biggest thing. This is when I learned.
Strategy is sacrifice. This is what the Uncommon guy was saying to me. Strategy is sacrifice. It's what you say no to. So we're downstream here. I want to now go upstream, right to the top. So, what have you? We've talked about Danny Mayer, we've talked about Jeremy King, we've talked about Rory Sutherland.
Yeah.
What would be the Karen's, 1 to 4 business principles that are specifically yours, and really are almost the compass for where this fucker's going, no matter how big the storms are of whatever's coming.
Sure.
Maybe like number 1.
Make it personal. So make it personal.
Yep.
Yeah, make it about yourself, right? This is not from an ego point of view, but the praise is personal. The brickbats are personal.
The what? Sorry.
The brickbats, like when you get like people sort of complaining, when you get people throwing shit at you, when things go wrong.
Yeah.
You take it personally.
Yes. Okay. Love that. Yeah.
And so all of it has to be personal. You can't just take the good, can't take credit, and then leave the rest. So if someone comes to you with a life problem, you have to make that personal. I literally, and the beauty is our culture today. So we've sort of skipped that little bit between 2020 to 2026. But the culture we have created today is just the most empowering thing. The people I have, again, touch wood, I'm so fortunate. Somehow we found these people and then they found others. But my core team is just, when something happens, when something goes wrong, like, we had a chef the other day he passed out in the middle of service. And we had 4 people from different sites, senior team, all land up at 11 o'clock at night.
Wow.
I just cycled past Malibon, so I was close to home, but they were like, listen, don't turn around right now. We had 3 people accompany him to the hospital. The senior management stay with him, force him to come because his family was in India. And then they were there till 4 in the morning. And it felt like family. It's not because HR needed you to do it. Everyone was checking on each other the next day. So we've had a rough few, sort of 3-4 weeks recently with the opening, the team stretching, and that happened. There was another lady who had a bit of a panic attack, and not panic attack, she had an asthma attack and then led to a panic attack. And then again, that was a big thing. We had some personal crises in the middle. But I just see the way people react to that. And we've really made it personal. I think, for me, this was the biggest thing. It's like,
how do you make it?
The brand is personal for me.
Yep.
It's about you almost joke, there was a time when I used to manage that queue for the first 2 years at Hoppers Soho. I used to stand with the iPad in my hand. People used to come up to me, you smile, you chat to them, you facilitate entry by giving them a sort of wait time, and they go away. You'd even I tell them where to go and drink. Yep. After they're done, I tell them where to go and eat dessert. We didn't do desserts and coffee. So I'd be like, listen, that's my favorite place. We chat to them. So it was never transactional. It was even after the transaction was done, it was, let me look after the rest of your night. And I think there I used to joke, and that time it was very much a joke. Now I've realized that maybe that was just part of my DNA. I used to tell some of the waiters, I was like, when I see someone walking down, I don't say they're coming to eat at Hoppers. I say they're coming to meet me. They're coming to meet me right now. Because if you treat it like that, if you treat that interaction like that, you've made it personal. And I was like, when they come in, take it personally. Like when they come to your table, you're not just serving them. Tell yourself, these guys have come to see me and come to meet me. When you genuinely believe that, somehow by the end of that transaction, by the end of their interaction, it will feel like they came to meet you, and they will believe it, you will believe it, and that's where the real
But also, it's
forged.
one, it's a connection, but actually by being selfish, what is it? I don't know what it says, but being selfish is selfless in the sense that it's like when you make it about yourself, but this person's coming to see me, they get a better experience. The feedback you get builds a better experience. It's it's a full circle thing. I love
and it's
that.
the same with feedback. You take it personally. If someone has said something wrong about the food, and again, when I say this is a much deeper personal, you don't just go crazy like, what is this person talking about? They don't know anything about food. Sometimes I have that because sometimes we have had like some really nasty, ridiculous feedback. Just the other day, we had someone come and give us a 1 star, right? And apparently, I hope he's hearing this. I doubt he listens to it. He's like, he gave us a 1 star on Google, and this is the brand new restaurant, and I am here every single night. This was a night I wasn't here because I was at an event at another side. And the next day I see this, and I was like, this guy's written about never visit this restaurant if you have a fennel allergy, right? Now, something we have taken very seriously and we're very open to is like, we are hospitality people, and allergy is not a problem. And it is a common, if at all it's a problem, it's a common problem. It's not my problem as a restaurateur. If you come in and you say, I don't eat X, Y, Z, the only time I'll get slightly annoyed is if you come and tell me I have an allergy to something, gluten, and then when I see gluten on the table and I've warned you and I've given it to someone else, then you start picking into it. Like, oh, I don't really have an allergy, I just wanted to avoid it. I was like, then tell me that in the beginning.
Yeah.
Because we take this seriously. And then because, if this happens often enough, you start getting sort of trivial with other people as well. You start thinking, oh, someone else doesn't have one. So we always take it really seriously because I was like, put yourself in the shoes of this person. And, all of us have been in that position. My wife was avoiding dairy avoiding dairy and raw food and stuff like that. Dairy when she was feeding, raw food when she was pregnant. And it was a common thing. When we go out, we'd have to be very careful about it. And we knew the impact it would have if suddenly we realized something was unpasteurized. So we've all been in that position. I go on some fad diets from time to time where I want to avoid certain things, and I'll be very open about it. But now imagine a person who's celiac, who genuinely is going to feel very uncomfortable and ill if they've had something. Now, this is not something they're making up. And they're giving you more of an opportunity to have a great time because they've chosen you, they've come here. So we've got a little more of a responsibility, and we've got more of an opportunity. So you can look at it the other way. I've got more of an opportunity because chances are this person goes and feels slightly outcast in restaurants. So let's make them feel really inclusive. So we are big about it. So when I see a complaint saying, oh, there wasn't enough veggie food, we've got a whole secret vegetarian menu. Which we've got our classic dishes, which we've done for veggies. We've tweaked them around because of this reason. Yes, certain allergies, like you come to me and say garlic, and I've had this, I can't eat garlic, ginger, chili, or coconut. Then you're in trouble, man.
Maybe
you come to me in the middle of service.
Pray and get a sarnie or something.
No, look, again, I'll be open about it. It's like if you gave me notice, I would probably send you a nice email and I'll give you 3 or 4 dishes you can have and we'll make them as well as we can. But beyond a point, I can't freestyle in the kitchen because we have to live up to certain standards. If one chef goes and freestyles today, you come back tomorrow and you ask for it, that chef's not there. So we're letting the whole team down. So there has to be a consistency of what we deliver and what we don't, and it has to pass certain stringent standards. Often I'm the gatekeeper. But this guy came in and he's like, I've got a fennel allergy. And I think the team did their best. And yes, fennel finds itself in it's there in certain spice blends. It's there in certain dishes. So we gave him a limited menu. And it's there in our curry powders, which we use across many dishes. Gave him a limited menu, and I think he was very cross about that. And I think for some reason he didn't like it. Then he found some other issues. At the end, I think he came in a big group, someone else had booked. They all loved it. And they literally walked out without him because this guy just kept moaning.
God.
He stayed on and he started cursing my staff. Now, I didn't know this. I just saw the 1 star. I wrote to the team, and this is what I normally do in the morning. I said, can you tell me what happened here? I don't say why did this happen? So I'm not assuming. I'll always go to them and say, guys, can you give me a little background on what happened here? Because my first thing is I've created a good culture and a good team. So by default, I trust my team to have looked after them well.
Yes.
And I feel if something is slipped, we should own up to it because, again, we should take it personally.
Yep.
I'm there. It's like almost like with your kids. If they've screwed up, so you want them to tell you.
Yes.
Because you want them, you will support them. And I think that's how I treat the team.
Yes.
And immediately I had Michael, who's our GM here, write me a long email saying, Karan, I was really shaken by this. This is what happened. This is what he did. He swore at the whole team before he left. He gave us all these allegations. We've gone and looked at his profile. He's even given Sainsbury's a 1-star review. So the guy just is used to giving people 1-star reviews. So I said, listen, forget this ever happened. Next time something like this happens, please make sure you ask the man to leave the restaurant. I will personally support you on this. Do it politely. You don't need to go down to his level and culture, but make sure that you remove a person from the restaurant, because I will not have other guests watch this. I will not have my team look after. It's spoken to in this manner.
So the first principle is take it personally, for good, bad.
Make it personal. Make everything you do. So even if it's a restaurant.
Okay. What's the second one?
I've picked up all this. Literally, I brought them back in. I will tell you a story behind every single element in this.
Okay, we'll get on to that. What's the second one?
I guess you should find your purpose. Spend a lot of time doing it. I spent the best part of 5 years doing it while I was writing books and while I was doing all kinds of things and developing the site. Really find the purpose. And the purpose, I think Simon Sinek does this better than anyone else, where he talks about the how, why, what morning. The why, how, what. And I think often we sort of stop at that exterior layer of what am I doing and what gives me joy. And, if you asked me 10 years ago, I'm running a restaurant. I'm feeding people. But that's like right at the outside of that.
What was so hard about getting deeper into the why?
Because I think it requires a lot of introspection.
Yeah, but what were you doing specifically? Journaling, traveling, writing? Like, how did you get? Because I think once you get to the
I question every decision I make, and then basically I'd reached a point where I'd written cookbooks, I'd done fairly well on social media, grown that following, doing something totally different. I would say yes to so many different opportunities, from a burger with Shake Shack in New York to an 8-person sort of fine dining experience on the beach in Maldives, to every single summer food festival across England.
Yeah.
And I'd said yes to everything over 1 year, 2021, because I'd been so bored in COVID and lockdown and just waiting to go out again, and so insecure that nothing will ever happen again. And I think that I was very tired. And I think that's when sometimes it's that. Sometimes it's sort of different things that sort of make you question. I think I started questioning myself, like, what is it? Each of these things are very different. The motivation to write a cookbook, is completely different from the motivation to be on social media, to wanting to have a TV career one day, to running a restaurant, to scaling that to 3 restaurants. So I was like, what is the common thread? Because I know I enter certain things with a level of passion and a level of excitement, and I know certain things just put me off. And I was like, fundamentally, like, there must be something across these various experiences that give me that excitement, and what is it? And when it distilled it down, it came down to like 2 or 3 words.
Which are?
So for me, it was about inspiring people.
Yeah.
And literally, I used to think it's about feeding people. It's about expressing myself. It's about all these, out there. There's a little ways of doing it. But at the end, for me, it's about inspiring people. And this is what I was telling you earlier. It's like with Instagram, I started as a way to connect with people, to chat with chefs. It was great. Even in the early days of 2012, when I had like 5,000, 6,000, 10,000 followers, these were like chefs in different parts of the world. I could reach out and ask for help. When I'm doing a collab in New York and didn't know anyone there, I had chefs I'd never met in my life, but we felt like we knew each other. Someone lent me a van, someone lent me their supplier, someone actually came and cooked with me. And it was incredible, that community, but it was more B2B. When my account grew and I started doing more of the Indian recipes and things like that, it was about expressing my culture, expressing something I'd grown up eating and learning, and inspiring people to understand that Indian food is not just about butter chicken, black dal, and naans. There is a variety to Indian food. It comes from an Indian culture, something I wear on my sleeve, something I'm very proud of. And I wanted to show it to people in my own personal way, which I felt kind of, lended itself to Instagram. And I think till today, I manage my own account. You'll see me on my Brompton. I'll stop by on a signal because it's 5 p.m. and I wanted to post something at 5 p.m. Nothing is scheduled. I will respond to as much as I can. Yes, sometimes I leave things sort of unread, but even those, eventually I will respond to, because I don't forget why I started, no matter how large the account grows.
How did you get to your why, though? Because I think I love that Simon Sinek thing. It's that, what, how, why. That's something, and it's a great TED talk. I think Osh from the Devonshire uses that. He talked about that on the podcast. But I think it's one of those things, even personally, I'm like, and working with this brand strategist has helped me get to the kind of the why. It's like this generous wisdom that I want to impart on people. But like, it's fucking hard. So say if someone's got a restaurant and they're going around, you know, a million miles an hour, open up sites here, firefighting, you know, the oven's down, the staff's called in sick. What are some of the ways to get to the why? And then once you get to the why, how does that change everything? Because it feels like
I think the first thing is, look, I used to be a lawyer back in the day.
Yep.
And I was just not, I was doing well, but I was just not passionate about what I did. I just wouldn't feel like there's a connection to my inner self when I'd go into work. And again, first step, I was very lucky to find what I say is my calling, and B, to then succeed in it to an extent. And I think having done that, then I had enough time to introspect and look back. And I think it's exactly this. It's like when I sat back in 2022, when I was writing the Hoppers cookbook, and I had a lot of time by myself, and I really enjoy writing. I still do a lot of it, all kinds of different writing. I have a column in India. I write, you know, I've written a second cookbook. I write a lot of recipes. I do a lot of like our own sort of internal writing and stuff. And I find that's a really nice, like that's my form of art. It allows me to think and introspect. And I think when I said, okay, fine, like all those examples I gave you, whether it's that collaboration with Shake Shack in New York,
yeah,
doing an ice cream with salt and straw on the West Coast, doing you know, something with a wildlife park in England, doing this, you know, really fine dining version of Hoppers and some of my Indian dishes on a beach for 9 people in the Maldives. Yes, some of them like you know, on the surface, I'd say, oh, this was just great fun. As I had a holiday in the Maldives, this was great because from an ego point of view, like, wow, I'm collaborating with Shake Shack in New York. But fundamentally, what excited me about it, what made me manifest these things, and what made me sort of get them and eventually enjoy them, why would you write a book? Why would you write a book where you're actually sharing some of your secrets with people and be happy about that, be excited about it? On the surface, you'll be like, oh, I've got my name on a book, I'm a published author, but that doesn't mean shit. It's like, you know, once the book is out and you realize it, then you're like, you know, you're hustling to sell copies. Like, that doesn't mean shit, man. My life hasn't changed at all. I've spent the best part of 6 months away from my young kids. My wife is pissed off with me because I've been traveling the world promoting this book, and she's had to look after the kids at home, understandably so. It's like, why am I excited? And I think fundamentally the answer came back, and it took me a long time to articulate it and put it into one word. But like I said, it's inspiring. Now, if I took that, then I tested that. Through a book, I'm inspiring people. Through Instagram, I'm inspiring people. And that's why I don't do sort of content like that. It became very clear then. I was like, I'm not going to do content that's about, this is my hotel room. This is where I've stayed in some great places. I was like, I'm not showing all that shit off. It's like, this is where I'm eating. I'm eating the most expensive caviar here, or the most expensive sushi overlooking, you know, sitting on a boat that caught that fish. I'm not going to tell you about that. I will tell you something that has the potential to inspire you, not to make you jealous.
What I think you said there, which was beautiful, which has helped me, is why am I excited? And I think that's a great question, because once you figure out what excitement is...
Christina, can I get water, please?
Yeah. Excitement and inspiration are two sides of the same coin. So if you're excited, you imbue this inspiration. That's fucking... I think actually just people listening to this, it's like if you just ask, why am I excited? You ask that
But it takes a lot of time, because sometimes you think it's because of, I'm on this holiday, but it's that contentment as well, right?
The 5 layers of why framework. Have you heard that?
No.
So it's what the innocent founders do.
Right.
Innocent juices.
Yeah.
So basically, you know, you'd say, okay, so you go, I'm doing Instagram videos to connect with people. And then you go, why? Then you write another sentence. It's like kind of a form of journaling, and you just keep writing why. And it's called the 5 layers of why. The other guy who does this is David Cleavey, who's a genius. He's a big Cambridge tech guy.
Okay.
He owns Bocca di Lupo.
Yeah. Love that restaurant. And the ice cream.
Amazing restaurant.
Yeah.
And I think that's it. If you just keep asking, like, why am I excited, you'll get to that nucleus and that fodder. And that once you get that, you just fucking keep moving.
I think you also then need to test it against various things you've done.
Okay.
Obviously, you need to have those life experiences. So if I just ask myself, when I had only one restaurant, why do I like coming in? One day it would have been because I've got this amazing team around me.
Yeah.
One day it could have been because I'm like, I always wanted to feed people. I'd cook for free. Now I have people paying to come and eat my food. So like, it took me years to really dive deep. Maybe it's those 5 layers. But it's because I had these varying experiences, totally different fields, that I was able to really go below. Because writing a cookbook, I'm excited because I was a published author. But that's at the surface of it. Going off and cooking in the Maldives because I'm doing this amazing thing. It's like, wow, someone's paying me to come out here. And do this. Having a restaurant is a successful restaurant. But when you go below all of this, fundamentally, like what really stirs your soul, and I think there, even a restaurant. So earlier it used to be about, wow, we are doing this incredible, we're doing these many covers, we're doing this revenue, we're doing these cool dishes, these people have written about me, I'm on National 100 Best Restaurants Top 20, XYZ has given me a 5-star. All that used to be, there used to be moments when you're excited, it was all transient, and then it would pass, and then next year you're not on those awards, and I was like, but I'm still excited. Every time I walk into my restaurant, I see smiling people, I'm still excited. Then I realized that actually the restaurants are a platform to actually inspire people. I'm flying a flag for a country, for a region. Today, India and Sri Lanka. Mm-hmm. And for me, that is far more exciting. Today, if you ask me, and I tell my team this as well, the ultimate success is not a 5-star review, is not a repeat customer. Guest, we call them guests. We don't say customers usually, at least facing it in our conversations. But it is someone leaving the restaurant wanting to book their next holiday to Sri Lanka or to India. And we have inspired a lot of people to do that. Now that, for me, is inspiring people to go back to that region and actually explore it. Because if they do that, if my fundamental goal is to inspire you to go to Sri Lanka, I will be the reason you went to Sri Lanka. You'll go there, you'll come back, you'll want to come back to me. So I'll have a repeat guest. There will be 100 people you tell about the Sri Lankan story, and you'll tell them why you went to Sri Lanka, because you ate at Hoppers. Yeah. So you'll have the word of mouth. Yeah. So all those other things become byproducts.
What, in terms of how do you think differently versus other restaurateurs, operators? Like in terms of what are the things you kind of, when everyone zigs, you zag, like how do you think differently?
Look, I think you've got to stick to what you are, right? I think it's very easy to get tempted. When you see someone else doing something, you go for a soft launch, you realize someone's done something really well. I think, again, it goes down to purpose, really knowing yourself, being sure of yourself. Insecurity is very essential, and it's sadly something we live with. Any creative lives with. I'm sure you have that. We live in this constant state of sort of insecurity that tomorrow I'll be irrelevant. So irrelevance is a huge thing. I think that also pushes us to do much better.
Yep.
And constantly innovate. This whole thing of, imitation is the best form of flattery is all BS, because when someone imitates you and someone copies you, you feel like shit, and you're like, you get angry. Mm-hmm. But I think there are ways to deal with that, where you say, okay, I need to be ahead of that. So I think you need to really understand yourself. You need to surround yourself by the right people. And I think a lot of us do what we do, especially in the creative spaces, not to make huge amounts of money. Money just becomes a byproduct. And money is sometimes an indicator of whether you're successful or not, and also if you will have a business tomorrow or not. Mm-hmm. But I think a lot of us do this for validation. Whether it's guest reviews, whether it's big sort of critical reviews. But the best form of validation is walking into your space and looking at your guests. And one step beyond that, I think for me today, the strongest form of validation is, am I aligned with my team? Does my team share my same values? I go to my wife, I go to my kids sometimes understand, sometimes I don't. Even my parents can't always understand what I'm doing in motivations and aren't able to. They live in India. So for me, my biggest form of validation are often my wife, a few very close friends, but mainly my team. Because there's no one else, even my wife isn't as aligned with me as my team is. Because they really are on this journey with me. And I think this, again, having created this beautiful culture of all of us being aligned.
Yeah, so talk me through that. So on a Monday, say you walk in on a Monday, right? It's one of the restaurants. What are the, is it you've got values on a piece of paper? Do you have sink into the culture stuff more? Like how do you get the myriad of different people aligned on this one ship? Again, something easy in theory, very fucking hard in practice. Like, what have you learned about that specifically?
At the end of the day, it's just, I think it's culture this is what a culture is, not organization culture, but it's individual culture.
What's the difference?
Individual culture sort of then plays a role in organizational culture. but organizational culture need not always align with individuals. Like you can be different individuals with different cultures, right? And I think it's
with you.
So I think sort of obviously when you it's like an orchestra. So you could get great musicians, right? But if they're playing their own track, or if one's not very good and one's really good, you'll just have noise. But if they all sync together, even if they're all not individually brilliant, but the collective tone will be brilliant as long as they're all singing off the same piece. And that hymn sheet or that sort of piece of music is, do you have a common culture or not? So again, it's come down to, for me, it's, I've thought a lot about, for years I spent thinking about service versus hospitality.
Service versus hospitality.
Service, which is something Danny goes on about. I can't claim to.
Yes, service is black and white, hospitality is colour.
Service is the process, and hospitality is how you make people feel.
Yeah. And
it's the sort of it's the softer side of.
Yes. What's your definition of service versus hospitality?
I think Danny does it really well. You read Danny Meyer's books, and he goes on about service and hospitality. No one can do it better than him. Will Guterra does a good job in taking that further. But I think service is very much, I bring the glass from here to you. Hospitality is, if you've got a cough, I bring you warm water. If you're hot and sweaty, I bring you cold water because it's done for you. What is done to you versus for you. But I've gone a step beyond that today.
Yep.
And again, I'm not taking any claim. But I think what I have identified with our team today is we have a culture of kindness. I used to always talk about hospitality, but I think this year we've shifted tack to we have a culture of kindness and everything we do is about kindness. So it starts with, you ask me who I hire and what is common about us, we are kind people. And we genuinely believe we are kind people. So if someone's kid's fallen down at home and hurt themselves, all of us care. If someone's had an issue in the kitchen, it's like, oh shit, I've got to staff this up. Or first thing we care about is that person okay? Everything else will look after itself. Because if everyone cares, right? Okay, I'll give you an example. My dosa chef, middle of a Saturday night service, passes out, falls down, 3 people around him, have to call an ambulance. And this is the true story. Have to call an ambulance, take him away, right? In that, the first thing I got a call was like, listen, Karan, just want to update you. This has happened to ex-chef. He's fallen down, we don't know. I am first thinking, okay, who can I call at which hospital? Which doctor's friend can I call? I said, what has happened? Let me find out right now. I'm calling 5-6 people. It's the last question that came to mind was, what's happened to service? Okay, and this is not because I don't care about service, but I'll tell you what happened. The reality was, my GM from that site, my head of ops, multi-site GM, all had landed up. One had come from here, one had come from King's Cross. The GM had pulled himself out of service. All of them were there. 2 of the chefs, the head chef included, were all looking after this guy at 9:30 at night on the street in the ambulance while they were doing tests. And they were all of us chatting to each other. We created a new WhatsApp group in that moment. So we're all updated. The restaurant ran completely smoothly. We had to stop taking walk-ins at that point, and we basically said the last few, we didn't cancel a single person, but we stopped taking walk-ins, so we basically closed the restaurant 15 minutes earlier. That was a decision taken by the AGM, right? The guys who were around this guy jumped in to look after him because they trusted that, okay, the head chef has pulled away, sous chef goes and takes over his role on pass. The guy who's making hoppers is doing hoppers and dosas right now. And yes, things will move a little slowly to table, but suddenly, seamlessly, the AGM steps in, or whoever the RM was there that night, he steps in, he's like, look, you go and deal with this is more important, leave it to me. Now, one person thought about whether the ship will sail or not, right? But the ship automatically sails because we have created this overall structure, this culture of kindness.
Inspiring.
Where it's like, I know that I trust my team to look after this man the way I would because we are all kind.
Yes.
If I did not, I would have to go there right now and I'd have to worry about 5 other things. The people who stepped in for the other guys doing this trust that these guys have stepped away because they're looking after this person the way we would, but because he's doing it, let me jump in and help. It's like family. It's that
What's your definition of culture in a sentence?
I guess it's the fundamental that underpins everything we do. So again, another example is we were looking for, in the middle, now we've got someone here, but in the middle we're looking for a head of marketing. And we hired a girl whose CV was fantastic. She came in and met me. Again, it was like this is sort of understanding my gut, and I think I learned a lot from that lesson. But It was like, she was very good on paper, great to chat to. We had a lovely conversation, 2-hour interview. Again, my interviews are very much about judging the person. They're not technical because the team does that. And the team came to me, they said, look, she's interviewed really well. We think she'll be good. We're desperate. We're about to open a restaurant. Can we take her on board? And I did this 2-hour interview. Something didn't sit right. A few of the answers, I guess, had just triggered me and sort of raised red flags. And then the conversation I had with my head of ops was, listen, he comes to us, we need someone right now. You're doing all the marketing yourself, which I was. Let's just get her in. We've got the notice period. We've got the probation period to deal with it if there's a problem. I said, okay, let's just plug that hole. Let's get her. Right. Literally in 3 weeks' time, she did a few things. And I think having spent more time with a person in a room, sitting with them, you get this gut feel. I was like, this is not working. 3 weeks' time. There were a couple of projects going on, the way she reacted to them. We walked into our senior leadership meeting one day. And back in the day when the culture wasn't great, I would have had to say, listen, guys, I'm not sure about this person. She wasn't obviously in the room. It was other people.
Yeah, sure.
It's like, I'm not sure. Then someone would have probably contested me and said, like, look, but we still need someone. Like, until we find someone, let's keep this person.
Yeah.
Someone else would have been like, look, but at least she's doing X, Y, Z for us. And the on-the-ground stuff is happening, digital marketing, ads. Maybe the big picture stuff is not. Let's just keep her on until we find someone else or whatever it is. Literally looked everyone in the eye. And before I could even say something, I said, okay, let's just talk about X. Before I could say anything, response was, yeah, we don't think she's right. And everyone in the room agreed. And I said, this is where we have created a culture. It's not just different values and like people bringing different things to the table. We've got an underlying, and we said, look, we will make it work. Let's just cut right now. Let's cut our losses because this is going to spread like a bit of a poison.
Yeah,
and I'm not saying anyone is bad. They're just in the wrong place. So someone who might not work out with me might be great in another organization where something else is more, where they're more ruthless about chasing profits.
Yeah.
Or where they're more ruthless about doing something different. But I think if you understand, it's a bit like, again, resonance is like, that whole echo and stuff. If you are able to understand and B, then surround yourself with people who share your culture, you just get louder and louder and louder and stronger and stronger and stronger because you're just bouncing off each other and it just gets louder.
Yeah, it's an organism.
Otherwise, the walls just suck up the noise.
Yeah. What's the last thing you radically changed your mind on?
Everything all the time. If you leave me long enough for something, I'm that typical creative where if I think about something long enough, I'll keep changing it. So there needs to be a time delay and there needs to be a timeline.
Yeah.
There needs to be a deadline without where I have to stop. It's like writing my book.
Yeah.
I'll write a book. I'll come up with it. Next day, I'll tweak something. Next day. And if you string me on for 3 months, I want to change the whole thing. This site has changed shape about 6 times because it was a year-long
Jeremy
project.
King's got a quote which is maintaining your standards is the fastest route to bankruptcy. Which, but it's kind of a play on the words, but this whole thing is that you need to constantly change and reinvent and stay fresh to stay relevant. And I think it's a really interesting.
I also think we kind of question ourselves all the time. And if you're, again...
You cannot question yourselves or you can?
You can. I think, again, like, sometimes I feel I am my biggest critic.
Oh, yeah, same here. Yeah.
And I am, like... And I think it's a good thing to do because the world will only... Like, if you always play to the world's benchmarks, either you'll be disappointed... or there'll come a point where, you get to, you're too dependent on something else, and I guess you get complacent because the world would say, oh, wow, you're great, you've done really well. I was like, I've moved on. And I was talking to my friend Aziz Ansari the other day. So we were doing Aziz Ansari?
Yeah.
Comedian. He's a good friend of mine, and he had come in, and I was doing an interview with him for paper. And we were saying the same thing. He's like, I do a film. So I was telling him, I was praising this last film he did. It's called Good Fortune. I'd gone for the
He lives in
premiere.
London, doesn't he?
He lives between the two. Lovely guy, man.
Yeah.
He eats at Hoppers all the time. We talk chat about food all
I
the time.
listened to him on Theo Von's podcast.
Yeah.
He was fucking amazing. Yeah.
He's just such a genuine guy. So we were talking about this and we resonated. He's like, so I was praising his film, this Good Fortune, because I'd gone for the premiere and I was like, dude, it's really good. And he just wasn't seeming it. Like I've told him 3 or 4 times in conversation with others and just to himself, I was like, I really enjoyed that film, which you should watch if you haven't.
Yeah.
Really topical, really well made. And he's just like, yeah, cool, thanks. And then he raised in the podcast, because I think, not in the podcast, that was an interview for City AM, and Steve Deneen was with us. And Steve said, I can't remember the exact question, but basically Aziz's response was, when I'm on a project, I'm hyper-focused on it, I'm all about it, but then once that project is finished, I've moved on. And like now that film is so old that today if you tell me something about it, it's like, dude, that was old. I haven't even thought. And I've probably found 10 holes in it myself. So it's the same. You talked to me about Indian 101 today, my book. I was all in. I was promoting it.
Yeah.
It's probably the same thing with your podcast.
No. So I get, after a big event or a supper club or even a podcast, I get this weird come down. Like it's like
100%.
And I'm just like, and I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
I'm reading this amazing book called it's called The Cultural Tutor. I need to send it to you. It's fucking amazing. It'll make you appreciate, and actually I want to talk about this like architecture and shit like that. But it'll make you appreciate London so much more, or any city. It really.
What's it called?
It's called The Cultural Tutor. The Cultural Tutor. He's been on loads of podcasts. He's one of the best podcasts. I'm not actually trying to get him on. But there's a quote, and it's by Herculitis, I'm really bad at pronouncing things.
Yeah.
This Greek sort of philosopher, which is, and this is what Seth Godin actually brought up this exact quote with me.
Yeah.
Which is, no man ever steps in the same river twice because he is not the same man and it is not the same river.
Sure.
So by that, and to your point, it's like, yeah, we've done this podcast, right? As soon as I walk out that door, you walk out the door, it's like, bang, what's the next thing? But like, how do you deal with that constant self-criticism, constant evolving, and actually, are you at peace?
No. That's something I've really struggled with.
Yeah.
I think contentment, peace are things that you just have to define in your head.
Yeah.
And again, there are crutches and there are systems you can build around yourself.
Which are asking this stuff.
Which are people.
Yeah.
Very important. Like I told you about earlier, like I came to realize that, okay, validation is important to me in a way, but it's like, who? So earlier I would chase validation from press. I chase validation from critics.
Yeah.
I chase validation from like big name things. I remember being on the Today Show 2.5 weeks after touring America. My Hoppers cookbook had come out. We had been chasing the show for the longest time. Luckily, suddenly got a slot. I was over the moon about it. Our kids were young. Sue was very busy with, my wife was very busy with, stuff happening here. There were some business issues and stuff like that they were dealing with. And I had been away traveling and obviously needed to be traveling. And she was very supportive about the whole thing. My kids were, this is 3. So my kids would have been 2 and 5. So very young. I'd call them on FaceTime, on WhatsApp, and one would not be interested. One was too young to chat. So I'm like missing out time with them. They don't really care about what I'm doing, whether I've done the biggest collabs over America, like Powell's Bookstore, all these different things.
Superfluous bollocks,
they don't care. Right?
Yeah.
And my wife was having to look after 2 kids on her own when she was going through a lot. And I remember this moment when I went on the Today Show. I was like, literally, I had to extend my trip in New York because it got postponed once. I was scared it might never even happen. And then what do I come back with to say, look, I'll stay in New York for 4 days now. And the show never happened. It was like 6 minutes of glory or 11 minutes of glory or whatever it was. Show did really well. But I remember being picked up in a taxi from my hotel room, taken to the NBC studios, doing this show, getting great feedback from the producers, the hosts on the show. We were all bantering in the background. Felt great for those like 30 minutes that I was in the studios. Sat in a cab all alone, came back to my hotel room. It's like nothing has changed from 9 in the morning to 11:30 in the morning today in my life. Yes, I might have had a small Instagram spike. Yes, the book might have gone up to number 1 right now, but tomorrow when I'm back in London and there are 50 more books, nothing's going to change. Call my wife up, spoke to her. She was busy in the middle of a meeting. She's like, okay, great, well done. That's it, done. And I was like, what am I chasing? What was this validation? This felt like the highest point I could have reached in America with my book. As doing a Sri Lankan book, no one knows about Sri Lanka there. Coming from London, to be on this slot, primetime TV, 33 million odd people watching it, should have made me feel different, but it didn't. So I guess I asked myself at that point, like, what is the validation I seek? Because validation is important. And then I realized, okay, now, today I'm far more sort of mature, grown up, not perfect by any means, struggle with this shit a lot all the time. But what I've managed to do is I've got a very small core group of people, whether they're sort of friends, certain mentors, and then most importantly, my team here, where I will go to, and that validation makes it. It's not enough. It's never enough. It never gives you that full contentment, but you know you're doing something right.
The other thing I've implemented is so even after this, right? Every time I've got a big podcast, I have this, because I'm so dialed in, like focused, reading everything, blah, blah, blah. And then I'll go meet my mates who don't care about the podcast. Some of them, my best friends don't even fucking listen to it.
Piss.
And take the piss.
Like my friends take the piss all the time.
Mate, so I basically now have it booked in. So I try and do the podcast on like a Thursday or Friday. So that means that I've got a runway period.
Sure.
You know, afterwards I'll have some food and then I'll go and just get pissed with them. But I won't talk about work. I won't talk about anything. It will just be like, yeah, you're a dick. Like, it's that banter.
But it's great. It's good to have that grounding factor as well.
It just takes the edge off that kind of like, that, you know, that almost adrenaline fucking...
Yeah.
So fascinating. Tell me about growing up in Mumbai, right?
Yeah, Bombay.
How do Indians and your child, how did they view the world differently to the way British do you think? How are we similar and different?
It's a hard question. Very different in many ways.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, again, yeah, I don't think it's a question I've come across before. How are we different? I think in many, many ways. I think culturally very different.
Yeah.
Indians have a hustle. Indians, obviously, you grew up in a very busy environment.
Yeah.
I think Indians innately have this sort of struggle to want to do better. There's a real energy and a hustle about things. I'm not saying London doesn't have that, but there's a peace as well. There's a contentment and satisfaction across the board generally. And you'll have spikes. It's like you go to New York, you compare New York to London. New York has so much more hustle. You can't just be, if you want to succeed in an industry, you can't just be cruising. You got to really push.
Sure.
And I think India is very entrepreneurial, especially today.
Yeah.
I keep, fingers and toes dipped into things there.
Yeah.
But that's more superficially, more knowing what's happening. Sadly, I don't have any real ties to India apart from all the food and, cultural ambassadorship I do. But I think, there's some great life lessons in there, which are especially
what are they?
relevant to running a business in this country. Like I said, it's hustle. It's about getting the job done.
Yeah.
It's about, being result oriented. Saying, okay, this is the result. Like, forget about the problems. The problems will solve themselves and we'll find ways to solve the problems.
Yeah.
But I think over here, I guess it's that third world versus first world. When you have enough, you grew up hungry versus growing up having enough. I think fundamentally it changes. It's like, you go to Scandinavia, people are like way beyond that. It's like now they're thinking of, do I have a 4-day weekend? Am I working every alternate weekend?
Yeah.
And I'm not saying anything about you need to work
Yeah,
a certain amount to prove anything.
table
It's just
polished
that hunger.
enough. Yeah.
It's about the hunger.
Okay, hunger. What else? What other maybe?
So I think hunger, hustle.
Yeah.
There's a sense of community. There's a big sense of community in Indians, which I find in the Irish over here, in the Scottish. I think, sort of Brits, especially in London, sadly, we've become very insular. We live in our own sort of little bubbles. In India, I grew up in a block of apartments where like everyone is family. You're raised by a community.
Yeah.
And that has its flip sides as well. There's loads of bloody gossip. You can't be anonymous there. Everyone knows you. Whereas back in London, you can be, that's the beauty of it. You can be famous or you can be anonymous.
Of London.
In London.
Yeah. What made you come to it? What pulled you to the UK versus other countries?
It's a funny one. I guess there's a connection between the UK and India where you kind of feel it's abroad, but you still feel it's at home. Like London feels a lot like that.
Yeah, I've never heard that before.
There's a historic sort of connection. It's an English-speaking country to begin with. And I grew up studying, I grew up in going to a Protestant school which was founded by the British. So there was sort of ex-colonial, this thing there.
Yeah.
Very much Indian. I don't like this whole thing of celebrating the Raj and celebrating colonialism and all that. I don't see why we need to be doing it. Years later, I think India has really found itself and is celebrating modern India. But that said, I think, I grew up with singing hymns in school, understanding a lot about this culture. We'd see it online, but I'd only been to England once. I'd been to London for a week in 2000. And then 2005, I found myself moving here in this weird way, knowing it's going to be for good. Most people would go do a 3-year degree and come back.
Yeah.
I was coming to Cambridge to study a law degree in 2005. And I knew when I got onto the plane that this is going to be good. Weirdly.
Yeah.
I remember sitting on that plane, coming by myself, no family here to drop me. I had some uncles and aunts here who were very gracious and hospitable and took me to Primark shopping and then drove me to Cambridge. And I remember the first day I got to my college in Cambridge being like, shit. Second morning, first day I was very excited. I had my own space. Back in Mumbai, I'd shared a room with my brother. Would be allowed into the kitchen certain times of the day, as long as I'm not creating too much chaos. Here I had my own kitchen, negotiated my fridge space and kitchen space with the 9 boys in my dorm. Second morning, I bought a cycled all around Cambridge, came back, I was like, shit, the next 3 years, this is all I'm going to see. My bubble had suddenly become so much smaller, whereas in Bombay, it's bustling. There's so much excitement, there's so much energy. Suddenly, this is too quiet and sleepy. So I struggled with that for a long time. I made some friends, but I did feel there was loneliness. I think that's when I sort of really took to cooking. And that was cooking has always been my respite, my unwind, my sort of way of really engaging all senses into something and really focusing. It's like meditation as well.
So meditative, yeah. What's the most interesting thing you did at Cambridge, or person you met?
I guess there were loads of interesting people
Yeah.
I met at Cambridge, and I think again they tended to be more in the legal space. I met some of my best friends over there. Some of them are doctors today. Some of them are doing biology and different things. Most interesting thing, I think, for me, it's really interesting because I grew up in a vegetarian household in India. So we would bring meat in once in a while if it was cooked outside. Even that was a bit of a loophole. So the neighbors had made some really nice fish. They'd send it over and we'd eat that. And I somehow had this curiosity for eating meat and fish, mainly chicken and fish, but never cooked meat at home. Today we do it back in India, but at home we never cook meat. So weirdly, that point is like, to buy meat, you'd have to go to the butcher. You watch it being slaughtered and you see all the animals' carcasses hanging around. To buy fish, you'd go to fishmonger. The fishmonger would come with all his fish. It would be smelling and all that stuff. So no packaged, beautiful stuff. So weirdly, when I came to England, it's the first time I saw pre-packaged, vacuum-packed meat and fish, which allowed me to disassociate with that whole process and be able to cook some of this. So I learned how to cook meat and fish from scratch, reading books, going to blogs. There was no YouTube. YouTube wasn't as big as it was, asking people questions. So I actually learned everything I know about cooking meat and fish in my Cambridge kitchen. Wow. I would literally spend all weekend sometimes. I'd just deep dive. I'd like, okay, today I want to learn how to make sushi. And it was like being a kid in a candy store, because back in India, when I'd read a recipe book, it's like, you need strong flour. It's like, what the hell is strong flour? We have something called maida, which is just random Indian bread flour, white bread flour. Or you have brown bread flour. You have not even bread flour, it's just roti flour or naan flour. You have two of these things, and you couldn't get anything else back in those days. This is like 20 years ago. Chocolate, there was one brand of chocolate. There was no dark chocolate, no milk chocolate, no 60%, 70%. Ingredients, apart from Indian masalas, you won't find anything else. And you weren't cooking Indian food there because there was someone else doing it well, or you just go out to eat. So suddenly I started exploring Chinese food. I had Chinese friends and like Lee Kum Kee, and I'd learn all these different sources. Like, this is amazing. I do Middle Eastern food. I'd made friends from every single community, so I actually go in and learn from them. So weirdly, I think my biggest learnings there were in food and culture, as opposed to law, which was functional. I did very well. It was like, this is work, this is play.
What are some of the mental models from like Cambridge, as not specifically your law degree, but like the caliber of, because again, Rory went to Cambridge, but that kind of bigger level thinking of that you apply to running.
It's a framework.
You think it's a framework?
It's a framework.
Which
It
is...
just makes you answer the question, right? Dig deeper, look at first principles, look at second principles, look at case. Like, whether you're sort of studying case laws, you need to understand these kind of things. It's like, what is my data? But at the same time, where's your gut? It's like being thorough with stuff.
So what's the difference? So let's link that to Hoppers.
Give me 1 second. I'm going to go to Lou and come back.
Yeah, go for it. No, that's sweet. When you're dying for a piss, your brain just goes into meltdown. No, fucking loving this. They bring some food out shortly, but I just want to get into this framework. Yeah. I try and learn from first principles. But you said, so it's basically, you said Cambridge is a framework. So you have first principles, second principles. Yeah. How would you apply that to Hoppers in business? Like when you've used first, what's the difference between a first principle and a second principle?
I think, so applying it to Hoppers would be, like from a business point of view, you'd look at data, which is obviously important. But then you look at gut feeling. I mean, again, I guess it'll be hard to do a first principle. What is first principle? First principle for me is purpose.
Yes, okay.
Like going back to, why do we do something?
Yep.
So yesterday I was having a chat to these guys, and I think they were like, let's do a lunch special, right?
Yeah.
And then there was a little bit of argument about price point. I wanted to go really low ball price point. So I was like, 15 quid. 15 quid for a full lunch with a hopper, with a curry, with a starter, with this thing. Only in Shoreditch, right? Then I had someone else come by and say, can we make it 19 quid? And then I had someone else come by.
That?
I'll tell you.
Oh, sure.
And then I had someone else come by and say, look, can we just do it across all our sites? I said, let's go down to, I guess this is my first principle. I was like, Why are we doing it? Right? We're doing it because we want people to come at lunch. Now, if you want people to come at lunch, there could be various problems you have. It could be people don't know you exist, which is my problem here. It's not a problem, but it's what we're trying to tackle over here. Shortage, they don't know we exist because it's very quiet, very hidden. It's it's not very hidden, but we aren't allowed on this building to put a lot of signage outside, so we can't shout about it, right?
Yep.
And Shortage has some great food, and there's lots happening. And yes, if you've read Hot Dinners in the beginning, or you've read a couple of things, then it's there. But we're not plastered all over, so it's a visibility issue. The second issue could be because there's a price point issue. It's like we'd love to come for lunch, but it's too expensive. I don't think that's an issue. Third issue is we do not eat Indian food at lunch, which you cannot solve because either you start doing salads at lunch, which is it on brand, is it not on brand? Maybe we can do something, and do we shout about it or not? And I guess those are your three problems. It's like these are three completely distinct problems with completely distinct solutions. If you use a price point solution to tackle the last one, you can just drive yourself down to like a £5 meal, and eventually all you'll end up doing is the people who are already walking in will spend 5 instead of 30.
Yeah.
And you'll have cannibalized yourself. But the people who weren't coming in because you're doing Indian food are not coming in anyway.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I guess you've got to ask yourself your question. First, you've got to understand your problem or your issue.
Yep.
Because most things start from a problem and an issue.
Yep.
When you've understood your problem, I guess that's your first principle. Then you ask yourself what the solution that matches that is. Don't confuse yourself because you have seen a deal on Instagram that worked well.
Yeah.
Or you've seen someone post about something that you feel you can copy. So there's a time and place for something. And therefore you go down to this. I guess this is my structured brain working, or my lawyer's brain working.
Yeah, this is fascinating. Yeah.
So then we drilled down. I said, Shortage has the problem of not being visible. I don't think price is an issue because you can come here and have a £10 meal if you want.
It's
visibility, price point,
and what was
or
it?
it's just the third thing is just basically your product. If your product is strong, they just don't. I do not eat Indian food at lunch. I don't want heavy food. I don't want spicy food at lunch. So if it's spicy food, let's say, for example, if the problem was there's a perception of spicy food, then maybe we can do marketing around, look, it doesn't have to be spicy. There is food that is lighter. If it's a perception about your food is too carb heavy and we want protein, I'll be like, look, there are some great curries and maybe we can add a little bit of a salad or a stir fry to it, which gives you the right kind of thing. But if I start doing like build your own salads here, it's just off brand.
So that's where purpose falls into this.
So purpose is very important.
That's the
first
principle.
on this
Yes.
thing. And purpose has already defined your brand and you know what the brand is.
Yeah.
But I think the first principle here is firstly identify your problem, right? Like a first principle law would be case law. As you kind of go down to, okay, what is the law, what is the case law, and then you kind of move on from there, right? And I think here you kind of say, okay, so what am I trying to tackle? And that's where I really had to focus them and say, okay, Malabon, my problem is we've been there 10 years, we've been there 7 years now, 6 years now.
Yeah.
So my problem there is not visibility and knowledge. Yes, there might be a little bit of that to do because you're never visible to everyone. But we are on Google Maps. If you search Indian restaurants or you search top restaurants, we'll come up on everything. So SEO is there. Local businesses know about us. Now, if you start driving down price, is it a price issue? Do you know it's a price issue? Has anyone told you, has any data told you that people are not walking in here because your 14-pound dosa is too expensive? I was like, I do not agree because people are now paying 16 quid at Pret. They're paying 20 quid for a salad somewhere with a drink. And we're offering really good value. So value has not been a problem. So find out what your problem is and deal with it. Because at my old sites, each site is a different problem. If we're tackling lunch, lunch is never big in an Indian restaurant.
Yeah.
No Indian restaurant will tell you that.
It's interesting. So Ogilvy Rory had that as for grads as a question, as a framework. It was how do you get? This is back in the sort of early 2000s. How would you fill out a lunch service at an Indian restaurant? Notoriously.
Interesting.
Yeah, very, very interesting. But the other thing which he says, which I love, is that one of his mental models is what problem are we solving?
Yeah.
What problem are we solving really? And I think that goes to your point.
Yeah,
it's actually,
exactly.
What are we actually fucking solving? It's not a price point issue.
No.
It's not a menu issue. No. So what did you...
Because what often happens in today's day, we've got so much information.
Yeah.
You've got really tempting models. So earlier in our conversation, I'd mentioned sometimes I go to a soft launch and see a restaurant where, oh my God, that was such an exciting, fun dinner. But it was a fun dinner in that moment. You kind of go away like, shit, I could have created a concept. There's this really cool restaurant that's doing this, that's doing live fire food. And I was like, I could do it. I mean, it depends on where you go and eat. It's like sometimes you just go like, I go with my chef as like I see live fire, I see a live kitchen, sit around the kitchen. I was like watching all that. I was like, we could maybe not hoppers, but we could have easily created this concept. Shit, I wish I could be the first one to do this.
Yeah.
Or you do like a grill
insecurity.
concept, or you do something else. Or like I see a pizza concept. I love pizza in my dream world. I'd love to be doing pizza.
Amazing. Yeah.
So it's like, but then when you come back and you allow it to settle, it's one of those ideas that feels amazing, keeps you awake one night, but 3 nights later, it's like, I'm glad I didn't work on that anymore.
Yes.
You write it down, you have it in the back. Maybe someday there'll be some sort of variation of that you come back to.
Yep.
So it's very much that. And I think, coming down to first principles, the issue is there's so much noise out there that suddenly you see something that you were fed. The algorithm might have fed it to you and it makes it look much bigger than it is. It's like, oh my God, this little campaign that competitor is doing has come to me in 3 different ways. It's because it's you. It's not really that big. Mm-hmm. Right? Second thing is, it'll come to you and you'll suddenly feel like, shit, that's so good. I need to do it myself. I was like, maybe it worked for them. Even though they're in the same market, they overlap a lot, but they are trying to solve a different problem. They're a different brand. Let's go down to the basis of why we would do that thing here and how we would do it if we were to do it. A, I would not copy paste. B, if I was to do it, I would adapt and do it, but only if it made sense. And I think this is how my thinking has evolved.
Yes.
Where we'll really sit down and question. Don't be, very often it's symptomatic, or very often it's a solution that you have before you have a problem.
Yeah.
And then you've matched this wrong solution to the wrong problem. You created a problem because you want to use a solution.
That's fucking genius.
And I think that's where we really broke it down and we said, okay, actually when we look, even though it's called hoppers, Soho has a slightly different problem because there are not many people around for lunch anymore, like there used to be. Marylebone has a different problem. Although there are people out for lunch, they're going to certain different restaurants, or they're suddenly shifted to eating higher protein salad meals and things like that. So Farmer Jay's is busy, Salad Project is busy. King's Cross, maybe there's a visibility issue, maybe there's something different. And Shoreditch, it's definitely visibility. So suddenly you realize that the symptom is the same. My lunch is not busy. The underlying cause of that is different, and the solution is different because you need to match the cause and the solution.
And then trying to have one solution across all of them, like, i.e. build this salad bar.
It's very tempting.
That's basically creating a problem out of a solution.
No, if you say 15 quid menu, let's just do a 15 quid menu.
Yeah.
It matches and it aligns with Shoreditch, and then the easy solution would be let's just do it across all of ours.
That's what I'm saying,
But suddenly it's trying to solve a problem, and that might create another problem because suddenly you have a value perception now. So you have a 15 quid menu in King's Cross where someone who's already coming to eat 30 happily, he's now having that, so you've cannibalized your sale. But more importantly, that person's not going to come back at dinner because now they've eaten this for 15 quid and they don't want to come back for dinner. Whereas in Shoreditch, I don't mind someone eating 15 because I'm not discounting value, which is something I never do. I'm saying all I'm doing is this is my generosity. I'm giving it to you at a really cheap price because all I want you to do is come and taste the food. I'm not doing it because I've suddenly realized 10 years on that I was charging too much and I'm suddenly giving you a discount. Because I wasn't charging, I'm always lower than market. So it's not that admission of, shit, I'm too expensive. Because once you go to Sports Direct and you buy shoes for half the price, you're never going to buy full price. Yes. I never shop. I shop as Sports Direct, but even if I see something at good value, full price, it's like, I'm just waiting for the discount.
So interesting. What would you say? Have you read the book Salt, Fat, Acid, Heat? Mm-hmm. What would you say the marketing principle, like that equivalent, is marketing to fill your restaurants? So I know you've talked about visibility as one thing, but like the 4 maybe levers that you can pull or they can sort of amalgamate together, and you actually get bums on seats, and you build a restaurant group for like 10 years.
Maybe I'm just a one-trick pony, man. Maybe I've just done one, it worked well. I don't know. That's my insecurity talking. But I think it's sort of, there's no perfect formula.
Yeah.
I think it comes down to that same thing of you've got to make it personal.
Yeah.
Because a restaurant is much more than food. Food, I've always said, is just the language. The conversation is how you make people feel. We bring people in.
That's so good. Hang on. So food is a language,
and you could be speaking any language.
Yeah.
But the conversation is something that you can't necessarily determine.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
You can put the language in place, you can have the circumstances in place, but that conversation is something that's going to be hyper-personal to each person who comes to eat.
Yeah.
And all you do is create a beautiful framework around it and create the environment. So you can't have a conversation on a noisy train where you're moving back and forth.
Yeah.
But you can have a conversation. I'm not saying physically, like we can have noisy spaces.
Yes, of course.
But
Yeah,
it's conversation, metaphorically speaking, is what we are here to create. Because you might not remember the language, but you'll remember a conversation. See, you speak 5 languages. You have a really deep conversation with someone. I ask you 5 years later, do you remember what language you spoke that conversation? Chances you won't. You may.
You remember how you feel.
You might remember you ate a bone marrow at my restaurant, but more importantly, you'll remember how I made you feel that day. And that is a collection of whether the lighting fell well on your face, you felt confident because the other person looked good, did your wife look slightly prettier than she normally is, that made you both open up to each other, did your date go really well because the music was right level where it was like engaging you to this thing, was the music too fast so you were chewing too fast, was it a little cold so even though the food was warm and your conversation was great, secretly you need to go for a piss 5 times or you're like feeling cold and sort of your hands are clammy. So there's obviously the physical stuff you can do to create that. But then there is a real soul of a restaurant, which only comes from a restaurant, from a good restaurateur steering the ship, which he or she passes on to the team. And that is where culture is the most important thing. You know Danny's whole 51% thing?
51%. Which
so in
that?
setting the table, Danny says he's got 51%. It's like you can have the perfect CV. It's a hiring construct. So like you can have the perfect CV, which only gets you to 49%. 51% is how you make my team feel when you come in for an interview and how you make us feel when you come in for that trial shift. Okay. So it's something we've always imbibed and something we've always used.
Yes.
Not perfectly. Sometimes you get it wrong.
Yeah.
We're trying to sort of hone that skill. And that's about bringing in right people who fit in your culture and all that stuff.
So you get those things right, the marketing will kind of take care of itself.
No. So then he had this interesting thing when I met him for breakfast one morning.
You met Danny Meyer?
I met him many times.
Oh, really? I didn't realize that. Yeah, yeah.
That was my highlight was him serving him for the first time in Hopper Soho in year 1 or year 2 of opening.
Oh, wow.
Richard Vines brought him in and then we became good friends afterwards.
Oh, it's
He's
amazing.
done videos for my team and I hold him in huge respect and honor. And he's one of those few heroes that,
What were some of the questions you were asking him?
This was one of those, we might have asked, I think it was a conversation. He said, Karan, I've got this interesting theory on 51%. So he said, I've used it in the hiring context. And this is in 2016 or 17. He said, I've got the 51% theory, which I've applied to spaces, to restaurants and to this whole Instagram culture. Anything you can take a picture of is only 49%. So anything I can take my phone out and capture on my phone is 49%. 51% is something you can never capture. And that is the soul. And I truly, genuinely believe we've had copycats along the way. We've had people leaving us and joining competitors or opening their own spaces. They will never be able to create. I think it also, as an insecure restaurateur, it also gives you that sense of security to know that, look, at the end of the day, you play this invisible role behind in controlling, guarding, directing culture.
The word insecurities bubble up a lot, and I think great creatives are insecure. Like, what are some of the insecurities that you're currently, even now we're 11 years now along, that you're still fucking grappling with?
Imposter syndrome all the time. Again, as someone who studied law, come in here, I still sort of pinch myself. I'm still as excited, if not more excited, about being in this industry. So even if you get a junior chef come in, and sit on a table, I will go up to the table, I'll start chatting to them, asking them about life, because everyone's got a different experience. And I still remember the day when I was a lawyer and I'd find any excuse to get into a kitchen or get into a restaurant, talk to the restaurateur, talk to the manager, talk to a chef,
Yeah.
So for me, imposter syndrome kicks its
What
head about
what about the dance between being hyper competitive but actually sticking to you and your purpose?
Yeah, I think the sticking to the purpose is a system you create to not be astray. Like I said, you can be out there and you can see a restaurant that's done really well. You kind of
do you have this
I
written
could
down?
do the same thing.
Like, do you have this as like your?
We've got a lot of it written down. We've created a framework.
Like almost like the the Constitution. What are some of those?
Yeah. So we've been working through that. So like kindness is a big part of it.
Yeah.
Making it personal is a big part of it.
Yeah.
The sort of what, why, how is a big part of it.
Yeah.
Sort of the big. So purpose statement, mission statement, all that stuff is sort of now got codified to an extent. But again, that evolves with time.
That's what I thought the Tonys did amazingly well, was how they detailed that.
I mean, that's how you grow to that level and still keep that, right?
Yeah. We've got, I think, some food arriving.
Yes.
I think...
About time, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, we opened too early. We decided our chat too early.
It's all good.
Now we're sort of firing up. Almost.
But I'd love to know what the... Because I was in Thailand with Lukey Farrell, you know, from
Luke's
Speed.
amazing.
He's a fucking legend.
He's
I basically said to him, I was like, bro, like, take me off piste. I want to go to all the, like...
He's the man.
He's the man for that, right? And he said, and I think it was a beautiful way of putting it, I think food is culture, culture is food. But he said the best way to understand a culture without either going to a country or speaking their language is food. Like food is almost the gateway to a culture and a society's soul, right? And I know with your different restaurants, there's, here's a mix of like, in every restaurant's kind of slightly different. Here's Indian, Sri Lankan, that kind of, it was Southern Indian, sorry.
Yeah.
Like, once the dishes arrive, but I'd love to maybe beforehand, like, what are some of the, across India, like, how does it differ in terms of the way they view the world? Like, obviously, again, we're a small country, but the way Northerners and Southerners think, there's a lot of similarities, but also a lot of differences. Like, how's Southern India different to other parts?
It's as different as, say, Poland to England. In fact, I'd say even more.
Really?
I'd say that the diversity across India, north, south, east, west, even every 200 kilometers is often more than different European countries.
Wow.
It is, you can take like Norway to Spain. The differences between them are, probably seen across South India from one side to the other. Whereas if you go south to north, you won't even recognize the people, the language, the culture. The diet is all totally different. Like think about India's is huge. It's almost a continent. That's why they call it the subcontinent.
No, I appreciate it.
And then you have Sri Lanka, which is a totally different island, which for years I thought was only this sort of competitor cricketing nation. But then when I went and discovered it for the first time and had friends from there, I think, thank you, Raghu. I think that's where I really learnt that, look, Sri Lanka has an identity of itself. It's an incredible melting pot of different cultures and backgrounds.
Yeah, one of my best mates from uni, Pradeep, is Sri Lankan.
Yeah, I mean, it's the most. I always say it's like a bite-sized version of India. In fact, being Indian, I'm allowed to say this.
Yes, of course.
If someone comes to me and say, "Oh, I'm going to India for the first time," I said, "Okay, how long do you have?" If they say, "I have a week," I said, "Cancel your ticket. Go to Sri Lanka instead." Because chances are you go to India, you'll try to do north, south, east, west, and you have this FOMO. It's like, I'll do Agra, I'll do Delhi. You'll get a little taster of everything.
What's the best things to do in Sri Lanka then, like if you're there for a week?
It's incredible, man.
Yeah.
It's like the diversity of stuff you can do. You can be surfing one morning on the most incredible waves. You could be doing a safari in the afternoon. You could be steeped in sort of Dutch culture in the afternoon in an old sort of
Does the Dutch colonise Sri Lanka?
Dutch colonized Sri Lanka, British colonized Sri Lanka. So they've got lots of those influences.
Wow, interesting.
And then you could be in a bustling city, which I think Colombo is such an underrated city. It is one of the best international cities in that region. It's not got the...
Why is it so underrated then? Is it just...
I don't know, most people land there and fly through. I just spoke to someone yesterday and she was like, oh, this is the first time I stopped in Colombo and actually really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
It's a very international city.
Yeah.
It's a very, it's developing. It's not developed as fast as many of the Indian cities, but Indian cities are chaotic because the population is mad and they're often just trying to keep up with the population. You'll have a great time in Bangalore if you get from one place to the other. Mm-hmm. You'll love Bombay, but getting under the skin is, genuinely overwhelming for a first timer.
Yeah.
Delhi is gorgeous, it's beautiful, it's got this thing, but it's got pollution issues, it's got people. So if you've got time, India is phenomenal. Do a month, but just do the north. Just to the south, really get under the sort of skin of the country because that's where you really begin to enjoy it.
Yeah.
Whereas if you've got a week, I think you can literally travel across Sri Lanka. There's very less impediment to sort of you won't get under the skin of it, but you'll have a really good time and a seamless time. You don't have to bargain. You don't have to watch over your shoulders. Crime is much less. The streets are cleaner. Roads are much better. And it's a smaller country.
Yeah.
I've always suggested Sri Lanka as an introduction to the region.
Yes.
And then dive deeper into India.
Interesting. With the traditional, arcane admittedly, but traditional sort of Indian curry house that the UK, which now is being, rightfully and happily kind of changed for people like introducing us to different types of cuisine. But how is that not necessarily like a wrong representation of the culture? Like, are those Indian curry houses, are they like amalgamations of different parts of India? Like what?
So Indian curry houses, using a very broad brush, term for the word curry house.
Yes.
As it's sort of generally.
Yeah. That's
perceived
what
over
I'm
here,
trying. Yeah. As in the broad
Is
brushstroke.
tended to be people from Bangladesh,
Yes.
particularly from a city called Sylhet, who
Yeah.
came over years ago. I don't know, it must have been an entrepreneur. They definitely have a very strong entrepreneurial spirit, and they have a spirit of community because, again, I don't know the history to it, but few of them came over, then they brought the rest of the village along, and weirdly, most of these curry houses were run by people from Sylhet. And then they had second generation. By now, it's sort of third or fourth
So
generation.
like a big city, small city?
I don't know it. I've not
Yeah.
been to Bangladesh,
Okay.
but it's
Yeah.
sort of, again, it's the city that
Yeah.
most of these people have come
Sure.
from. I think it's like second, third city after Dhaka, which is the capital.
Sure.
So weirdly, it was people from here. And again, hats off to them because they have an entrepreneurial culture. They probably realized at the time, it's a bit like now. Today, if I was to sell butter chicken, I'd probably do twice the sales. If I did a typical North Indian menu, maybe it wouldn't resonate with my purpose at all. But from a financial point of view, I'd do much better than doing what I do today because I think there's just less of an education piece, there's less of a barrier to entry. Today, I've got to educate first. When a person reads my menu for 15 minutes, they're just struck as to what is what, even 10 years on. So I've got to then have a smart way to sit and educate you. Whereas if I had a black dal, yellow dal, butter chicken, and just worked on making sure they're slightly different or tasted really good and served in good, plates in a fancy restaurant, it'll be much easier way to get in, right? So for that reason, I think maybe these guys realized that, look, Indian food was the way instead of Bangladeshi. So entrepreneurially, hustled, started, built it, tweaked it to the English palate. Maybe the sort of sweetness of a korma came in there. Maybe there were certain other things that sort of lent themselves well to how the locals would perceive it. And I think they sort of picked up, and I guess it got busy, it got this thing. And I think slowly over time, these are people who didn't inherently come from there. Now, I don't use the word authenticity because I think it's a bit of a nothing word.
Yeah.
Right.
It's
What is
vacuous.
authentic?
Yeah, it's
Just
vacuous,
because
yeah.
we might come from the same place, your grandmom cooks something one way, mine cooks something a different way.
Yeah.
Which one is authentic?
Yeah.
Authentic for me is an intention. So maybe the intention at that point was not to represent Indian culture in the right way, but was to create a menu that was unique with Indian influences, with presented in a somewhat sort of ethnic way, with sort of all those the typical music and the fanfare and clothes and the tropes that you have.
Yeah.
And then over time, maybe it was a consumer started calling it an Indian curry house. So I don't know what it was, but maybe
I love looking into the archaeology and anthropology of food. I think
But all of it, it has that journey, right?
Yeah,
So I
yeah.
think what they did, and I don't for once knock it, I don't think there's ever sort of, I'm so happy that people I know there are lots of people out there who are now wearing India on their, as a badge of honor. Earlier just happened to be brown, today suddenly found themselves, loads of commentators in this market, chefs, commentators in this market who had nothing to do with Indian food in the past and then sort of now suddenly becoming big voices. For me personally, there's such a big market to educate. We feed 6,500 people a week, and my stats show that at least 70 to 80% of those people are new customers every week, new guests every week.
And
After 10 years, the volume. So this just shows you the number of people there are in this market. It's not a tiny market like, say, Bombay or Delhi, or not even Delhi, but like, you look at small cities. Bring it on.
Yeah, bring it out. Yeah, we can now start exploring.
The interesting thing there is what these guys did from an
Thank you
Indian
so much.
perspective. From a British perspective, they gave you new food that... thanks, Raghu.
Thank you, mate. That looks incredible.
I'll tell you all about that dish once so I don't lose my train.
Yeah. Just
But from a English point of view, they gave you new food. From their point of view, they created a new business and they used certain influences to do something well. And I think what it did in the long run was educate a market to a certain kind of food, which nobody else would have been able to educate. If I had come and opened this kind of restaurant back
you
in the
so
day
much.
when the first Bangladeshi restaurant opened, we wouldn't have had a single guest in because no one knew about it. So sometimes people are like, they'll be quick to criticize a Jamie or a Tom for writing an Indian recipe. I was like, I do not care, man. It's like, if their recipe is not the same as mine, doesn't make it less authentic, fine. It might show laziness, not on their part, but I'm saying if a British recipe writer or chef is writing a recipe on Indian food, if it's badly written, it's just laziness. I could be lazy as well. But writing a recipe from a region I don't know, but just because I'm brown doesn't make it any more authentic.
Yeah.
So I think the beauty beauty is someone like Jamie, someone like Tom is probably able to reach a segment of the market that might not listen to me. And I'm being realistic about
It
this.
increases the total addressable market.
So once they watch
Yes.
their recipes,
Yes.
it might not be close to what my recipe is. They might teach you to make a roti in a totally different way. Instead of scoffing at it and writing notes and posting things about, oh my God, that was inauthentic. That's all BS, man. I was like, I would much rather, whoever it is, sitting in, far off reaches of the country, who doesn't know who I am, doesn't come to London, but knows Jamie, respects Jamie, tries this recipe out, because once they've had a taste, chances are tomorrow they'll say, I enjoyed that. Let me find more Indians. Somewhere down the line, 3 layers down, they might find my book, come to me, come eat my restaurant. So it's all a discovery process, and that's exactly what the Bangladeshi restaurants did. They still have a place in today's market because there are still people who enjoy a curry house,
Yes.
right? My kids still go to Pizza Express. Now, I've got nothing against Pizza Express, but there are hundreds of pizzas much bigger than them, much better than them. I personally don't eat at Pizza Express. My wife loves it because of nostalgia.
Oh, yes,
If you've grown up here, you love it. Now, why do you love it? There
Yeah.
are hundreds of pizzas that are better.
Well, so Seth Godin's got a theory on this,
Yeah.
which is why does there's a heuristic, a behavioural science heuristic on this, which is why we'll crack on with these, which is why is Heinz ketchup over
anything else.
over everything else.
100%.
Because it's basically just purely because it brings back memories of childhood. Because ketchup often meant a happy. If you're having ketchup as a kid, it means you're usually probably having naughty quote unquote food. Again, that's a vacuous claim. There's no such thing as naughty food, but it brings back that nostalgia. And now, if you give me any other fucking ketchup, and that's what I think Pizza Express is. I don't think it just. I remember going to
totally agree.
kids parties, having the hats, the colouring. It reminded me of half term. Or school holidays.
And with my kids, I make pizza at home more than I make most things.
Oh, wow.
And they enjoy the pizza, but my kids still love Pizza Express. Why? Because it's become their thing with their mum. So Sue will take them when I'm traveling or when she knows that I'm not part of that thing. We'll go to a lot of restaurants together. But when we go to Pizza Express, it's all about her going with them. So suddenly, that same nostalgia is carried on to them.
Yes.
They're like, now this is their date night with their mum. So it's so special to them, and it'll continue. So it's a great branding thing. Hats off to Pizza Express, but they're not doing the best pizza. And I think this is important to understand that you can go up your ass about food. I'm serving the most authentic. I'm serving the best. That's BS, man. You're creating what I said earlier. You're creating spaces. You're creating opportunities for a conversation. You have to be realistic about that. Food is a language.
Yes.
Pizza Express, the pizza at Pizza Express is a language for that communication my wife and my kids have.
Yes.
This will be the language for what you do. Discovery will make the conversation more exciting. If I give you something new, it's going to make the conversation more exciting. If I give you something consistent, it's going to make the conversation more consistent, because you're not then worrying about, this doesn't taste the same, and suddenly you're distracted. You're coming there. Why do people go to certain restaurants that do average food, that serve good wine and serve good food? It's because, average food, because they actually want, I used to work with lawyers, and they used to go to, I won't name restaurants, but in the city there are certain restaurants that do not do great food, have a very consistent wine list, and they have certain things, mainly steaks. These guys love those restaurants. They won't go to anything exciting because they want to have that conversation. They want a setting which makes them feel comfortable, makes them feel welcome, where they know the wine list, they recognize the wines, they can quickly order off that list and look knowledgeable. They want a steak because they know what they want to eat. They've kind of prepared themselves to come in.
It takes out a lot of the mental load.
Exactly, because you can use the load. Like, this is about discovery. Guests who come in are coming to discover something or connect to nostalgia or about to travel to Sri Lanka. So we serve a different purpose. And if you give them that, then the conversation becomes...
I love. Let's jump in on these.
Let's jump in.
So, and then just tell me, again,
we've got
archaeology and anthropology of this dish, because this looks fucking... So for listeners,
that is a brand new dish. These two are dishes that are only in Hopper Shoreditch.
Yep.
So I've got 3 elements here, and this basically represents an incredible day we spent in the city called Madurai.
Yep. So just what is? So
pronounced Madurai.
It's
So you've got a nool paratha, which is like a thready paratha.
Lovely.
It's all shredded up. You've then got an omelette with crab in it. So that's your omelette. I'm going to serve you some. So let me get you the paratha. Dan, may I turn the music on? Because I'm conscious that guests have walked into the restaurant, and I don't want them to have anything but
you go for
the
it.
experience we need. Guys, let's get the music on, please. Don't make it too loud, but turn the music on.
It won't. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
It looks gorgeous.
So that's the omelette. And then that is a lovely soft shell crab, just for crunch, for texture, and a little more crabbiness. Now, the idea there was, we spent a day in Madurai. We went in the morning to this little mess on the street like off a highway, where these ladies deep frying omelets, just plain omelets with onions, like masala omelet. Then we had this crab curry alongside that, which was intense and flavorful.
Oh my God.
And then at night we went and had a roti, and I kind of wanted to bring all three. I didn't have space for 3 dishes on my new menu. So like, how do you bring them together? And we then came up with this dish that has all three. So we've kind of, again, it's not an element, it's not about deconstructing, it's not about like overly engineering, but genuinely this represented that day to me. So there's a sense of authenticity of wanting to represent an experience of my life I want to share with guests who walk in here. And I think it works.
Yeah, it does, absolutely.
I think it works. That is a chili cheese dosa. This is the one dish. Actually, let me go and get you some chutneys with that. Tomato chutney. So no matter what diet I'm on, if I'm walking past this dish in the kitchen or at a table, if I'm eating with someone, you'll see I'll avoid having that because I want to cut carbs right now. I want to go to the gym after I'm done with this. But that I'm going to have a dip off. So that's chili cheese in there. So you've got melted cheese, you've got body, you've got green chilies. We did this dish about 5 years ago. And I think this has been one of my favorite dishes on the menu. So you just have that dip into chutneys, or you can dip into a curry.
Do you pull it with hands,
and
or
then,
is it?
You're talking about anthropology of food. I think the beauty about, again, something we've come to represent and show is that we also stand for regions of India and Sri Lanka. Mm-hmm. And I think, that dosa is totally different from this dosa. They're made from different batters.
Yeah.
So it's like showing people that bread is not just bread. So we've come to play this role where, without being too over the top, we're also educating and giving people a taster of different places from the region we represent. So that's from Bangalore, where you have something called, this is a bene dosa. So it's actually practically fried in butter. It's a bit thicker than that dosa, which is more of a Tamil dosa.
Yeah.
And then we've just, to take it over the top, we've stuffed it with a pulled lamb and some pickles and herbs.
Mate, looks fun.
So we've got to just dig into that.
Dig in. It's absolutely stunning. Yeah, we used to, when I was at that peanut butter company, we used to go to
Manny's, what do you say? Manny Life?
I'll send you some, mate. It's insane.
Give me a plate.
Yeah, we had a lot of the team, nights out, like the one in Marylebone.
Yeah.
It's just so good. In that in-between COVID period. Do you know what I mean?
Where?
Marylebone.
Hoppers?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool.
It was so good. Oh. How do you think about the architecture of the different cities?
Yeah.
And then applying that to the restaurants to get a unique vibe so people feel that they're almost like to help stoke that conversation, as you said.
Are you talking about decor or food or what?
Yeah, so like as in you'll go to a city, you'll try, try the food, bring it on the menu. When you're doing like southern India, like how do you think about, because the one in Soho is very different.
I think there's, again, the beauty of social media and YouTube and all that kind of stuff today, that the world's a lot flatter.
Yeah.
And I have this, man. So in a way, research feels easier, but there's nothing like, I know enough people who will find dishes on Instagram from restaurants around the world and like send it to chefs and be like, okay, fine, let's try and create this. Let's do that. This will go viral just for the look of it.
Wow.
That's good, no? There's nothing quite like getting to a place, immersing yourself in the culture. The amount you learn. As you spoke about Luke Farrell. I mean, he runs some of the best Thai restaurants here, but practically living there. But then he gets his team over there, and I meet that team, and they're so enthused every time they come back, because we have had over the last 10 years. Every year, I've taken some members of my team over. When I see those people come back, it's a sea change in the way they think, they develop, they behave, they realize that what they're representing. So we take everyone from bar to front of house to kitchen. We're going 9 of us right now.
Amazing.
And I think that's really essential.
What's the art of a great research trip?
Just have fun.
Yeah.
If you don't have fun, you're not going to do this thing. And I think, again, the beauty and the luck of it is that now, because of social media, I think you can put one post out there saying we're going, and again, the world is so interconnected that back in the day with Lonely Planet or like having to email people and hook things up, you find that, you had to do a lot more work. Whereas today, again, we're in a position where you put it out there, you'll have 20 people, then you quickly plan your itinerary. Yep. I've gone to like cities I've never known and had the best recommendations.
Yeah.
I guess that's also part of karma. You do a lot of free recipes for people, then you get back that goodwill when you need it most.
Yeah.
So that research trip is really important. And we try and, again, coming back to what we bring back, I think, again, over the years, it's like sharpening a pencil. Back in the day, you had this blunt pencil where like you just draw everything. Today, we've gotten a lot sharper. We know certain things will work and certain will not. Now, there are two questions to that. One is, does it fit within my menu? Obviously, chances are that a lot of the stuff that we see around that region, whether it's South India, Sri Lanka, would arguably fit on my menu because that's the region we represent. And then there's a second question as to operationally, is it going to work or not? Suddenly, if I load the tawa or the plancha with 2 more dishes because I've eaten something exciting, it's going to break him in service, and which means that consistency-wise, you're not going to get something. So you've got to think about the operational impacts of dishes as well. Or if you really like something, do you take something else off? We've had 7 new dishes on the menu here, which we don't have anywhere else. Because I think a lot of our team has been 8, 9, 10 years here. My exec chef and I he's been with me from day minus 3 months. And both of us have had so much we wanted to express over the years. We've kind of really found our voice. We found ourselves in hoppers. And I think we wanted to really represent those dishes. And suddenly we say, okay, here's a space. And Shoreditch was that space to come up with some of this creative stuff. And the beauty is that all the feedback is like this. None of these dishes feel out of place on the menu. They feel very hoppers, but also like evolved and exciting and new. And I think that's why we've had such a great reception, both in the press and with the public.
What I love, and I think that art creativity is an expression of self, right?
100%. Yeah,
it really is. And it's like when you're telling me, you're detailing that wonderful day of you having this. What's that called? Like the omelette on the side streets and
the
then
noodle paratha and the crab curry.
And it's just like that is Karen in a dish. That is your trip in a dish.
100%. Again, making it personal means there needs to be a little bit of you.
Yes.
In everything. There needs to be the test for me. The simplest test.
How does write? Because I write a newsletter. Weekly. I've posted it for 6 years every week. Bang,
what's it on?
Bang. It's lessons from the podcast.
But it's what do you send it out on? You need to subscribe to it. Okay.
Beehive, yeah. So I can email.
I'll definitely sign up.
Yeah. So it's like, but again, it's like my inspiration from like my favorite authors. So like Tom Wolfe.
Sure.
It's very esoteric and kind of irreverent. Like a lot of people unsubscribe, but the people who fucking love it.
Sure.
But I think writing helps the expression of self.
Sure.
What are the similarities and differences of writing and cooking in terms of you expressing yourself?
I think this is what I love about cooking, because what is cooking? This yesterday was a bag of lentils, was a little packet of fenugreek, was 2 packets of cheese, was a bunch of different spices. And from that, it's turned into this. How? There's been human intervention to create that. That human intervention, by virtue of time, effort, knowledge, background, skill, passion, is all in this dish. That's why when you look at a dish, it's often, the GP might be 30%, but then the staff cost, people only stop at GPs, restaurants stop at like, oh, what's my GP on a dish? It's like a GP doesn't stop at what the raw ingredients costed. Your profit, your cost of the dish should also be the human intervention, which is your labor cost. So, I was having a chat with someone else the other day. It's like, wow, that must be really good GP, because all it is like fermented lentils and rice, and you're charging 5 quid for it. I was like, but I'm creating beautiful spaces. I'm hiring some of the best staff. I'm spending a lot of time training them. I'm putting 4 staff on the floor instead of 2. And I'm getting some of the best chefs to make it to a standard that's consistent and of a very high level. Now, all that costs money. I might save money on an ingredient, but I put money on staff cost. And I think all that should be looked at together, because that staff cost is also passion.
Your restaurant's filling up, so I want to ask 2 more things and we'll wrap this up. Sorry, man,
Not at all, no apology. We will go on.
So JKS, your wife is one of the co-founders.
She's the S in the JKS.
Yes.
Yeah.
If you could boil down, why would you say they're so prolific?
Yeah.
As a group, even Lukey was sort of detailing some things, but I'd love to know from from your perspective, why are they so important in the evolution of London as one of the greatest food cities in the world? What's their?
I think with the 3 of them,
yes,
and that boils down to a lot of us as partners and family and everyone else, is it comes from a place of genuine passion.
Yes.
Right? It's not, and again, the beauty that they have is between the three of them, they bring three very different skill sets to the Indian restaurants. And then the way they partner with people, and I very much treat myself as a partner for Hoppers, is I will give you the Hopper story. So for instance, you plug into the JKS infrastructure, and I think depending on where you are in your journey, you will take as much as you need or as required operationally. So back in the day, there was a lot of 10 years ago, I took a lot of marketing assistance, I took commercial assistance, I took ops assistance. Then slowly we built our own people and we kind of spun off ourselves. But they allow creative people to do. A restaurant is often the most successful restaurants you'll find have a partnership between someone who's very commercial and someone who's quite creative. So that might be a chef or might be a front of house person who has a vision, like someone like Jeremy, and then you have the commercial side of things. And when that goes wrong, then you have the fights, and often that goes wrong when there's PE involved, because then there's like purely commercial, there's one bigger partner in. But when you're equally weighted or somewhat equally weighted, and each one respects the other, which there is a lot of over here. Like there's a respect for creative and there's a respect for commercial. So when we sit in a board meeting, there's a great respect for knowledge, for background, for commercial, from what JKS is suggesting. But we've been independent for a long time, operationally. From a food perspective, front of house perspective, even marketing perspective, we've taken help commercially. We're getting much more independent now as we've grown and they've grown. So I think the beauty is, it's the same with Bear and Jack. Bear and Jack maybe leverages off certain different aspects.
So when you say the infrastructure, like how did they build that? Was that just over time? Was it like...
I think they built it with the first Indian restaurant. This is Trishna.
Yes.
And there was Gymkhana.
Yeah.
And then the two Indian restaurants that were sort of built, owned, operated solely by three of them and teams around them. They said, look, we've got these really good teams. Now let's utilize these teams to also assist other people with like-minded sort of philosophy. And that's where, James Lowe came in for Lyle's, where Bubble Dogs came in for Bubble Dogs Kitchen Table. And then, then there was the Bao family that came in. There was Bear and Jack. So these are people who are aligned fundamentally on certain things. And then needing different levels of like Bao is now independent because they got to a point where they could be fully independent. They didn't really need them. And I think JKS realized that, okay, our resources now are better spent focusing on Indian. Similar with the pubs. But Dom is a fantastic publican. Lovely guy. He's built some really cool stuff. That was a shorter journey, but he joined them when he needed some support commercially and he needed some support creatively. We gave the support, quickly realized that, okay, now he's running it all himself. Let's spin off. So it's like an incubator of sorts.
Yeah.
But then you can kind of hold their hand as long as you want and as far as you want. And I think in that sense, they're very gracious. They're very savvy operators. And I think that beauty of that mix between Sue, who's very operationally she's got a great instinct for human beings. Joe is commercially one of the smartest guys I know, and then Karan is creative for the Indian side, but he also has a good sense of, what's hot in the market, what will work, what not across the board in sort of finding the partners initially. Then his involvement can be different in different brands. He's mainly involved with the Indian. So
interesting.
I think those three work really well, and then kind of, and I think that's where that lovely synergy of three people bringing really different things to the table, but then because they're family also, they might fight with each other, and I might fight with them as well, but then at the end of the day, it's all cool when you're...
Yeah. As Lukey was saying, they're incredibly important for everything that's going on in London and really driving that catalyst. Purely selfish here, what are some of your favourite books?
Favorite books? I think Grinding It Out, Ray Kroc, the McDonald's story. You read it?
No, I've never read that.
The movie The Founder?
Yeah.
Again, it's got 10% of what the book actually had. That was a book that was really...
What's the other 90% that wasn't in the film?
I mean, there's lots. There's like the little stories and like getting inside. But it's like the same as, films are always very superficial.
Yeah.
I mean, that Setting the Table, obviously, we've discussed many times.
Yes.
Really good book. Bruce Springsteen, huge character in my life. I love him. I look up to him.
Why is he such a big character?
I think there's, sometimes artists, I love music. I love rock music. I grew up, he was a soundtrack of my life. There's an element of nostalgia, a bit like Pizza Express.
Yeah.
My kids have grown up listening to him. I think what he stands for is very important, so I resonate with his why.
What's his why?
I think he's just, he puts himself behind what he does. He makes it personal. He's the one guy at 76, he's playing concerts for like an hour longer than people who are like freaking 25. He's not this diva. He's huge, he's larger than life, but he's not a diva. He's there because he's giving. He's like, they talk about giving. We want to give ourselves.
Yeah.
He sings for the common man and he knows that journey. He's not a common man, but he knows the journey. He's very honest about everything he says. At least superficially. And again, there's no reason to believe that that's not true behind the scenes. So, for me, Springsteen's big, Born to Run, great autobiography. Also, sort of shows you the insides of the journey of someone you came to respect.
Yeah.
And you only see a superficial side too. What else? What else am I reading at the moment? I tend to read more sort of the self-help, non-fiction kind of books. I don't read as much fiction as I want to.
Such as?
Depend on what the flavor of the month is. I listen to a lot of books.
Yeah. Mate, but your restaurant's filling up. We'll have to do another one,
Great,
man. That's
Cool. I was scared how I'll chat to someone for 2 hours.
Hey guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Hope you were loving the episode. I'd appreciate a really small yet significant favor, por favor. Please, may you click the subscribe button, get in the comments, tell me what you think about the episode, tell me what you think we did on the show. It may not seem much, but it really helps us grow and helps us get bigger guests. Thank you so much.